Welcome to the Old Lady Hour with Lorrie and Sheryl. And today's guest is David Allgood. We're really happy to have him here to talk about all things music, Arts Council, Tuscaloosa, the Bama Theater, all the various things that he's been involved in, all the hats you've worn. So you have a nice hat on today.
I do.
We'll have that in a picture.
Can they see it?
They will be seeing it in a still photo.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're still on YouTube. We haven't gone to video yet.
Oh, okay.
But eventually, when we have our own recording studio and station and channel,
All right.
we'll be on. But for now, we're on lower levels of technology.
That's the kind I understand.
Good.
Analog.
Good. So, I think let's start off with what your current projects are, if you have many. And you're looking at me.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was waiting for you to stop.
No, okay.
I didn't want to interrupt, Lorrie.
Go ahead and interrupt.
Okay. I've got a number of things I'm doing. I play bass with two really great singer-songwriters and travel with them. I'm losing my train of thought.
That's all right.
I'm a man of a certain age. But
Well, this is the Old Lady Hour, so you're in good company.
Okay. One is Amy McCarley, who lives in Huntsville and works Huntsville and Nashville. She writes songs with some people up there. Amy's, I'm trying to think of who she sounds like, and I can't think of her name. It's a pretty famous alt country singer.
Oh, sure, we know that one.
Lucinda.
Okay.
Lucinda Williams.
Oh, Lucinda Williams.
Cheryl,
Okay.
thank you for saying
Yeah.
that.
You're welcome. Happy to help.
She's been a big influence on Amy.
Okay.
The other is Sophia Talvik, who's from Sweden, but lives in Berlin. And she and her husband Jonas also have a house in Spain. And Gina and I went over there last fall, 2 years ago. I've toured with her for about 4 years now.
Okay.
When she comes through the Southeast. But I have gone as far west as Texas. We played South by Southwest in 22. Interesting story. We played 3 shows that day. One was at a hat shop, and they gave us a hat.
All right.
Everybody got a free hat.
Nice.
And not this one.
Yeah.
This one's from Baltimore.
Okay.
From Hats in the Belfry.
I like it.
Okay.
Hats in the Belfry.
I'm going to
That's
be
good.
going off on tangents like you wouldn't believe.
That's good.
We like
Okay.
that.
All right.
Tangents are good.
Tangerines. So then we played at in the lobby of this pretty nice hotel, a lot of fancy people, in the afternoon. And then that night we played at this famous hotel that had a ballroom in downtown Austin. Can't tell you the name of it. Well, I could if I knew it.
It's fine. There's a ballroom somewhere in
Yeah,
Austin.
somewhere in Austin it was. But the most fun was the hat shop.
I bet the hat
It
shop
was
fun.
people were really boisterous and were listening and yelling and
Because, hat shop people are the best people.
it does hat shops, So that show ended, and I had driven over. Jonas and Sophia have a small RV called Little Chief, and they don't like to drive it in traffic if they don't have to. So I drove. So we're immediately in just a grid, just a traffic jam of no one moving, and we're trying to get back to our hotel, which was one of the scariest motels I've ever been to.
Was this in
This was in Austin.
In Austin, okay.
And
We'd like to know the name of that one.
this was paid for by the Swedish Arts Council.
Oh, okay.
And I got to say, they need to step it up.
Really?
Because we had a room. It was one of those you walk up the metal stairs.
Yeah.
You can see all the doors.
Right.
Yep.
Except ours. There was another wall, and you walked into the Hall of Death, where there could be
Oh, yeah.
hobos and
Yeah.
stabbing people.
I've probably been to that very place.
In Austin.
In Austin,
I've stayed in Austin twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For concerts, no less.
Yeah. So you might have stayed there. They had.
My budget is
yeah,
about the same as the
Swedish Arts Council. Yeah, they can make a kroner scream, I tell you.
I think that's got to be a name of a new band, the Swedish Arts Council.
Steve Davis and I started a group called the Icelandic Arts Council.
Okay, well, that's very, I do remember
It was just
that.
us, and of
Yeah.
course, we don't live there.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think it's defunct. Steve hasn't told me. We haven't had
Okay.
any meetings. But anyway, I'm going off on sliding boards of tangents.
Well, it's because
Okay.
you've had lots of, I mean, when you're
drink?
a magician, really, yeah, it's 2 in the afternoon.
Sometimes
so,
you
yeah.
have to be a magician
Yeah,
to be a musician.
A musician, and you're on tour.
Okay,
I mean, you just never know what's going to happen.
okay. You're right. So, I'll have to back up to our traffic jam. So we're sitting in the grid of traffic, and all of a sudden we hear gunshots ring out.
Oh, my.
And we're only 2 blocks from where we had just played, and you can see the fire, with a gun.
Wow.
Caps flying, as
Whoa.
they say, putting caps in people's asses.
What was happening
There, 2 gangs were fighting.
in downtown Austin?
Downtown Austin.
Wow.
Just like an old Western shootout.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I never thought of Austin as having like gangs and
Yeah.
scary
No,
places.
they have the Crips and the Bloods, I think.
Really?
Or
Okay.
maybe they're different names. I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm thinking more of a college town, but it's also
yeah.
a big city.
Yeah, it's a big city, capital.
Did it? Okay, very.
I was never nervous when I was there.
I wasn't until that moment.
Well, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen active gunfire in the street,
I hadn't either.
even in the mean streets of Tuscaloosa.
All right, and I lived in Atlanta and Denver.
Yeah? Okay.
Denver had a lot of gangs.
Really?
Yeah, they were quite active.
Okay.
But
Well,
anyway, don't interrupt.
we're in the art. we have an art gang here.
Okay. Anyway, we can't move, so we all just kind of ducked down in the car and hoped a stray bullet wouldn't hit. But we
Yeah.
eventually made it back to the hotel.
To the scary
I
hotel.
wouldn't call it a hotel. It
It was more. Well, I guess it's like a motel.
was
like
a motel,
motor hotel.
but that's even
okay.
insulting most motels.
Okay.
But in fact, Jonas and Sophia had a room there too, but they wouldn't go. Sophia went in it and wouldn't stay there because of the smell.
Wow.
So they just parked their RV outside and slept there.
Okay.
But our room was comfortable once you got past the fearful dark alleyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is life on the road.
It
life
is.
on the
It
road
is.
with the Allgoods, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think we think of performing as being kind of glamorous, but a lot of it is not.
It's mostly driving
A lot of
and
driving.
making sure you get paid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's similar things in the visual arts. I do a lot of driving. I do a lot of. I sometimes say I'm just taking my paintings for a ride. So they get a ride, then they come back.
Well, I'm sure they enjoyed getting some air.
That's it. Yeah. So. It was
Well, I've been with you on a couple of those trips up
Yeah,
to,
so we've been.
to Huntsville.
You helped Steve Davis with that first show with, and we have some of the big heads here. You helped us with that, and that was kind of bad because there were big sculptures that had to be carried upstairs because the elevator was broken.
Yeah.
So that was a little challenging.
It was,
And
for
then-
2 elderly men especially. But
So-
we're in pretty good shape.
You're in pretty good shape. So,
Look
you know,
around.
yeah. In that show, I just had little tiny paintings. So you
That
know.
inspired Steve.
Yes, so the next
He's
one.
making smaller
a little
things.
bit smaller. Although we still have some large pieces.
Yeah,
here.
he's got some.
But they're easier to, less moving involved. And I encourage Steve to put wheels on a lot of his big sculptures, so.
That's a good guy.
Yeah,
Sure.
he doesn't have them on these, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, let's go backwards in time
Okay.
a little bit, because I know you have some great stories about some of the things that happened in Tuscaloosa at the Bama Theater. You were the manager there for 13 years?
14
14 years?
14 years and 3 months.
Okay, so, yeah, almost 15 years then. One of the many things that you helped do was work with the film festivals. And there's a big story about one of those movies that you were bringing in.
Yes.
And, we all know the story because we were around, but there's a lot of people new to Tuscaloosa or just didn't know, so I'd like you to just tell us that story.
Okay, I'll be happy to. It was one of the funniest and gut-wrenching and happiest ending of any of the stories from that era. Yeah, when I was there, we had the Art House film series, and we had it 3 times a year. We had fall, winter, and summer. Generally 8 to 10 films on Tuesdays. When we had to work around, like if children's theater was in, we'd have to skip a Tuesday and all that. But generally we could get the movies in. We were building a pretty good audience. Really, by the time the Arts Council pulled the plug on it, and that was after I left. We really had good attendance.
Yeah, it was definitely a happening. People kind of had it circled.
Yeah, you'd see the usual suspects at every screening, including you.
Yes, that's right.
So anyway, I can't even remember what year this was.
I think it was was it be around 2012, somewhere in there?
I think so, and I'll tell you the way I know is Rebecca Rothman was our president.
Okay, yeah, so that's probably about right.
When she was president is when I consider the golden years of the Bama Theater, because she was very supportive.
Shout out to Rebecca.
Yes, and she helped me get concerts going, because I didn't get a lot of help from the Arts Council. I think they would agree with that.
The Swedish Arts Council.
Oh, maybe I should have asked them for some Swedish language movies.
That's right.
Well, anyway, but Rebecca was really great president. But she was involved with this controversy. So here we go. One of my other favorite people in Tuscaloosa, Mama Dixie, Soapy Jones. She called me up and said, "Hey, David, I just read this great review about a Norwegian black comedy. It's called Turn Me On, Damn It." She said, "That's not it doesn't translate to that, but the distributor thinks they'll sell more tickets." So I went, "That sounds good." And I found a trailer and looked at it. I laughed during the trailer. I thought, this is great. And it's summertime.
Sure.
Nobody's going to show up anyway.
Right.
So I went to Sandy Wolf and Kevin and Megan and talked to them about it. I said, "This sounds good." And they watched the trailer. They all laughed, thought it was funny. It sounded like a good movie. It's basically a coming-of-age story in a small town in Norway where kids are just like they are here.
Sure.
They're riding in the school bus and they see somebody they know on the side of the road and flip them off. It's that kind of movie. So they put it up on our calendar, and we go back to sleep because it's summertime. There's nothing to do.
Right.
So until there were 2 local pastors who took an interest in the movie.
Because of the title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so one of them called me. He was from a Methodist church. It's the one up near County High.
Okay.
Christ Harbor Methodist Church, maybe?
Probably not officially affiliated with the United Methodist.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So he called. He was very genial on the phone. He said, "I was looking at your schedules of movies, and I noticed this one called Turn Me On, Damn It." I went, "Yeah, that's right." He said, I don't think you should be showing that kind of movie at the Bama Theater." I said, "Oh, you've seen it then?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, how can you draw a judgment from that?" He said, "Well, the title's really he didn't use the word provocative. I don't think it was in his vocabulary, but he meant people of his persuasion would not like it." And I said, "Well, the best thing to do is don't come then."
There you go.
I said, "I think what
That's
you're..."
what she said.
I was going to do that.
Sorry.
You're gonna make me have to edit.
That's one. Speaking of Dunder Mifflin.
That's right. That's exactly.
So he said, I don't think this is good for the community. I said, well, again, you haven't seen it. I don't think you can have an opinion on it from a title.
Right.
He said, would you consider canceling it? I said, absolutely not. And he said, well, I appreciate your forthrightness or something. I said, okay, well, thanks for calling. And that was it. That's all I heard.
Okay.
Next thing I knew, he and another pastor had contacted Mayor Maddox and were making noise about this nasty movie that was coming to the Bama Theater. And he got nervous, and he talked to Sandy, who also gets nervous.
So everyone was a little bit afraid.
Everybody's a little afraid.
Instead of being bold.
Yeah, I was excited.
Yeah.
Because I thought, these guys are going to stir up some publicity,
Sure.
which will be good.
Yeah, that's right.
People are going to want to know what it is. And sure enough, it happened.
Yeah.
They started including it in their sermons. And Soapy, the other pastor, let me back up. I can't remember his name, and I never met him.
Okay.
He had a colorful background. He was I don't know if he was an ex-fireman, but he had been a fireman, and he had also been a male stripper.
Okay.
Oh,
We'll just
as
call
a
him
pastor.
Pastor Hot.
That's what she said.
We're trying to make Sheryl laugh so she'll cough.
So Soapy, who's one of the smartest people I know, she found out that his church does a live radio broadcast on Sundays. So she started listening to it. And sure enough, and recording it.
Okay.
Doesn't that sound like her?
Yes, it does. But we have to have Soapy on.
Yeah,
Soapy Jones.
she's
but,
gotta come.
Yeah,
Oh.
in fact, Mark Cobb, who was our last interview, was just talking about working with her. So yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. She'd be a great guest. She's got a lot of stories.
yeah.
I lost my
Right, she
train of
was
thought.
doing she recorded their
Oh,
radio.
right. So she was listening as it, she was recording but listening to it live. And the other guy that was the fireman stripper was talking about how sinful this movie was, and of course he hadn't seen it. And he said,
He lived it.
he's living. Maybe it hit a little too close to home.
Yeah.
So he was preaching, and he was getting really fiery, you know how when they, and Jesus is going to come in, he's going to save our souls, and everything, you know, we're doing all that. And Soapy heard him say, and Lord, I'm going to pray. If they don't take that movie out, burn that building down.
Oh, no.
Burn that whole block down. The whole block. And that's what we used for our ammunition.
Okay.
Because that whole block includes my church,
Right.
the church of the Christ Episcopal Church.
Right, exactly.
So I wrote the guy, I said, you realize if it happened on a Sunday,
Yeah.
you'd be burning up little children in Sunday school, old grandmas and grandpas, and me. I don't want to burn. So I think he eventually apologized.
Okay.
But Mark Cobb, to his credit, he kept it going too, because he knew this will sell tickets.
Right.
And it was selling papers too.
Well, they pulled the movie?
Yes, what happened is Walt talked to the Arts Council, and the executive director decided that we couldn't show it.
Right.
And I was disappointed and angry.
Well, and then a bunch of people just said, because I remember at least having a graphic that said, show the movie, damn it. Yeah.
Yeah, there were posters all
Yeah,
over.
all over, right.
So, days went by, and then, of course, Rebecca came up with an idea. She went and talked to Walt about what the problem was. I'm sure she used, a lot of your constituents would like to see this movie. And these two people don't even live in the city.
Right.
And the other thing, they worked out a compromise where Soapy would present the movie, and the Arts Council would not be involved with it at all.
Okay.
So that satisfied everybody. So we were able to get it back online. Not online, that sounds like it's on computer.
Right, but back in the schedule.
Back in the schedule. Oh, and also, I couldn't put the title on the marquee.
Okay.
But what I did is I assumed they didn't want the title in English,
Okay.
So I put the Swedish title on the marquee.
Which works.
And everyone knew what
Yeah.
it was. But I
Yeah.
thought it was sort of like a
Right.
stab in the back.
Right.
So if it wasn't officially put on by the Arts Council, who made money from it?
The money should have gone to Sophie Jones. That's a
Right.
good question. I'm going to ask her because I hadn't really thought
Yeah,
about that.
that's a good- that's
She
a good
paid for
question.
the rental of the movie. And I guess she rented the theater too.
So, yeah, it'd be,
She
it'd be
should have
good to-
gotten it. And there was a good,
It was full.
that's what I was going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting maybe a couple hundred people.
Mm-hmm.
There were 664 people. I was hoping for 2 more.
Yeah, that would have been too perfect.
Yeah.
I should have just bought 2 tickets
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
But yes, and that was the second highest attendance we ever had.
Wow.
For any movie.
Right.
Second highest to a Wes Anderson movie. I can't think of the title, but we got it before The Cobb. It was The Cobb back then. And we could only show it one night.
Right.
I don't know why the distributor let us have it.
Right.
But that was 714 people, I
Okay.
believe.
Well, I'd be curious to know who got the money from the showing of the
Yeah.
film.
I'm going to ask Sophie when I
Yeah.
see her.
So this is good. We'll ask her to be on. We can,
Yeah.
get it from every angle.
Right.
So, but that also then had probably bumped up the number of people coming to the Our House Films.
Oh, it helped. I'm sure it did. It had kind of a,
Just because now they knew about it.
yeah, it was a ripple effect. I
And
think.
there were some really interesting movies that you showed there.
We did have some good ones. I had really good helpers, advisors. We had 3 people that was on our film advisory board, which meant we went to lunch once a month. But we had Andy Grace, who was in the film department. We had Rebecca Rothman. We had me, and we had Ann Bourne,
Oh, okay.
who now lives in Oregon.
Yeah.
And between the 4, the 4 of us would, on our own, would,
Kind of review.
review and look in magazines and online. It was kind of a time when there was still a lot of printed magazines, but there were a lot of online reviews of things.
And really not as many streaming services.
That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of times the only time you could see the movie was there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
really looked forward to those movies.
Yeah, I did too.
And it was fun. It was fun to go. The Bama's a beautiful theater.
Oh, it is.
It's really
gorgeous.
pretty.
I love that theater.
It's it was built in the 30s. Is that right?
1930, if I get this right, 38, 37. It's one of those 2 years.
Yeah, and the decor is
38, pretty sure.
is all like Spanish, Mediterranean, and then the ceiling looks like stars.
Stars at night.
And they have little twinkly stars.
Yeah, now that's fun to go change those bulbs.
I bet. Were you in charge of all of that?
I was, my workforce was me.
Okay.
So light bulbs, all bulbs changed by me. But that was fun because it was a little bit dangerous. It was
To get up there.
yeah, well, once you're up there is when the danger begins.
Right.
There's 2 might be 3, up there in the attic. You have to go do a marine crawl under all of them because of the HVAC. But the ones that were the hardest to get to are the ones that are closer to the stage, because that's when the ceiling and at this point the floor of the attic takes a nosedive.
Oh, yeah.
And you kind of have to hang on with one hand. But anyway, I always like going up there because it just smells like history.
Yeah.
You just think about the men that, maybe there were some women that worked because it was PWA
Okay.
under Roosevelt. There might have been some women carpenters.
Right.
Who knows? Hope so. But I just like to, there's just a smell of history in buildings.
Yeah.
Hey, if you have a YouTube account, you can subscribe to our podcast. Just hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, leave us a comment. We like hearing from you. Thanks.
So, had you had previous experience as like a theater manager?
I hadn't. I was in Atlanta after I played music full time from mid-70s to mid-80s. then we started having babies. And it seems like they want to eat all the time and have shoes.
They need some care, those
yeah,
babies.
I don't know. So
You could have made him start playing in your family band.
yeah, I guess
They
I
earn
wasn't
their
that
keep.
imaginative. Yeah, I wouldn't have had to pay them, that's for sure.
That's right, like, the Jackson 5,
No.
all those 70s.
That's true.
Family bands, so.
But anyway, so I joined the Atlanta local of IATSE, Local 41. That's the International Alliance of Theater and Stage Employees. It's usually, you'll usually see their logo at the end of the movies. It looks kind of like a Masonic star or something.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, I got on with them, apprenticed for about a year, and it was a fun job because you never knew what you were going to do.
Yeah.
Because you get a call to a trade show at the Congress Center, World Congress Center in Atlanta, or the Fox Theater or the Civic Center, and it was, or the ballet, or a TV show. I actually worked for one whole season on In the Heat of the Night.
Oh,
with
wow.
Carol
Okay.
Connor.
Yeah.
Carol O'Connor.
Right.
And he was, what a nice man.
Yeah.
He would eat lunch with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he would eat lunch with the crew.
Uh-huh. This was after the All in the Family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he wasn't Archie Bunker anymore.
No, he wasn't. And he's very,
But in real life,
he doesn't talk like that.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He was very,
But-
very educated.
yeah, but of course, this role, he has to talk like a
Right.
Southerner.
Yeah.
So. But it was, I was in the paint department. We painted the sets that were built and, of course, made them look like people lived there.
Okay.
With some aging tricks on doors and such. I didn't really like it because the hours were so long and I had two small children and made a lot of money in less than a year, which, one consolation. But one day I was leaving and Gina said, just so you'll know, Severin and Caitlin are not asking where you are anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that
sad.
I went, well, I'm going to have to. So when the season was over, the head painter he was already talking to me about next season. I said, no.
Yeah.
I said, thank you for all you've shown me. But I learned a lot of good painting techniques from him.
Okay.
So everything's of value. So I did that. I worked a lot for the Atlanta Ballet, even when they weren't in performance. They had a set shop, scene shop, and there were about 2 or 3 of us building sets and such. And I really enjoyed working there because one thing, it was in Atlanta and not in Covington, so
Right.
I could get home,
It was
take
easy.
the train to
Uh-huh.
work. Yeah.
Okay.
So I enjoyed that. But around 1992, our kids had run out of grades in the church schools they were going to. We lived in a it's not a great part of town.
Okay.
And we had this beautiful Victorian house and terrible schools. So we had to make a decision. And we sent our kids to the public schools and, hindsight, 2020, I would not have done that again. But we were trying to support public schools and trying to change them for the better, but it wasn't going to happen. So we looked around and moved to Denver.
Denver.
Yeah.
Okay.
No jobs.
Just up and moved.
Yeah, we lived in the basement of Gina's sister,
Okay.
who was already there. And I worked for UPS for a while. I actually did some theater work through the local in Denver, but I stopped getting calls, and I had met 1 or 2 stagehands, and I called one of them. I said, I hadn't gotten a call in 3 weeks. The guy said, yeah, you know what? The president of the union thinks you're a spy. They were all so paranoid, our union was too, that somebody was out to get them.
Huh.
I said, a spy? What kind of information do you have that would be of value to tell anybody?
I guess it was still the Cold War, maybe? I don't
Yes,
know.
I don't know. These guys are taking too many breaks.
Oh.
I'm going to tell New York.
Okay.
And Uncle Vito's going to come down and take care of you. But anyway, I did that for a while. I did find a band to play with. First, they were called the Prime Time Players, and all they did were John Prine songs.
Okay.
And I was playing bass because they didn't have one. And that's about the easiest bass.
Sure.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
4 chords.
There you go.
4 chords if you know them. So 4 notes. But we changed our name to the Clawfoot Tubbs. And we all had names like grimy tubs, and I was wash
Okay, wash. I like
wash
that.
tub.
Wash tub.
We played a lot around Denver, and sometimes over the hill in Grand Junction and places like that. In fact, one night we played a show in Grand Junction. We went back to the motel, and our banjo player had, after the show, had gotten a little happy.
Okay.
So he was pretty sleepy. So he went. He went to his room, and we all, retired to our corners. And in the middle of the night, I heard something outside, and it was George, the banjo player. I said, "George, what's going on?" He said, "I can't believe this. I knew I left my banjo in the back seat unlocked, and I opened the door, and sure enough, now there's 2 banjos back there."
People are just trying to get rid of banjos.
An old bluegrass joke.
Oh, that's really funny.
I have one more.
Okay,
It's this one's quick.
okay,
It's a riddle.
all right.
If you had a fiddle and a banjo, and you went up to the top of course, the Empire State Building.
Okay.
That's where people throw things off for some
It
reason.
does.
All right, and you had a fiddle in one hand, you have the banjo in the other, and they're starting out at the same height, and you let them go. Which one's going to hit the ground first?
Which one?
Who cares?
That's awful.
Now, you can only tell these jokes if you've played in a bluegrass band.
That's right.
We don't appreciate it if other people criticize
Well-
our families.
That's, yeah, the thing that always cracks me up about bluegrass is they're usually telling some kind of major tragedy,
Yeah.
but they're so happy about it. It's just like very upbeat music.
I killed mama, and I killed daddy. I know.
Yay!
Little brother better watch your back. I know, yeah.
So,
And there we have it, another song on the Old Lady
That's-
Hour
that's-
with Lorrie and Sheryl.
that's good, yeah. Well, because we have a true musician, which we interviewed Allison Upshaw, who did some singing for us too, so, yeah.
Neat.
So what brought you to Tuscaloosa?
Well, we were in Denver for about 10 years, and it was okay. Denver is there's beautiful scenery everywhere, and lots of things to do. A lot of clubs, a lot of concerts, because Denver is the only thing
That's it,
between
right.
once you leave St. Louis
Yeah.
and head west, there's not a lot of big cities.
No, there's-
Well, Kansas City, and
there's-
then you
Right,
leave.
but I mean, it's pretty isolated
It is.
geographically.
It is. And so people arranging tours, if they're going cross-country, Denver's going to be a stop.
Right.
And there were so many good shows that come through there. So that was fun. But it never felt like home. There's a lot of people there that have run away from their families.
Okay,
I don't mean teenagers, I
No,
mean
but just-
adults that
but just
that
they're-
can't stand their mom and dad.
it's geographically isolated, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they want to be familial isolated.
It's interesting, most of my family has brought up moving to Colorado.
Well,
Do they do it in front of you?
Yes, and
Sure.
I'm the only one who's never found the need.
yeah, well, there you go. Well, I have a nephew there now, and then we're supposed to go to the wedding.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I'm just not looking forward to the flight. But it does seem like head west, young man, is
Yeah.
that there's this kind of a feeling of adventure plus weed. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, in all fairness, if I had moved there when I was 20, I'd probably have a different viewpoint.
Sure, yeah.
But I was middle-aged when I
Well,
took
I guess
plunge.
if you're used to rain,
Yeah, and trees.
and trees, then that's my problem for
Mm-hmm.
anywhere it's more arid. I just don't feel, I just need,
Yeah.
I need to feel like a lot of humidity.
I know.
Or my, you
And
know,
I
my
feel
skin cracks.
untethered if I can see too far.
Right, that's right.
I could just float away.
Right. Well, that big sky is kind of scary.
Yeah, get sucked up into that. But yeah, we were glad. Gina's sister worked for Para, and she told her that the Arts Council was looking for a new theater manager. So I concocted some lies, called
Okay.
it a resume. I didn't really. I told them, I had a lot of
Yeah.
stage experience.
Sure.
As any stagehand can tell you, they know better than the tour manager or the stage manager
Mm-hmm. Right,
about
right.
how to do it.
Right.
But anyway, they believed my lies and
Okay.
hired me.
Uh-huh.
And I was there 14 years.
Yeah.
And had generally, most of the time, a good time.
You
and enjoyed it.
instituted the acoustic concerts.
Acoustic night was one of the things I really loved. And
Those were great.
it was brought people together. It was like a living room.
And
Yeah,
you brought in some pretty big names.
We did. My favorite, and I'll be forever grateful I was able to get him. I booked David Lindley, who's Jackson Brown's guitar player.
Yeah.
And of course, David's played with James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt, and you name it, and can play anything. He has any stringed instrument. He brought a lot of them. Jackson Brown calls him a maxi instrumentalist.
Okay. You can just do anything.
Instead of a multi.
Right. Just anything.
He could do it. But he was so great, so nice and friendly, and they were grateful for the snacks we gave them.
Okay, good.
And then, we gave them they ate somewhere in town.
Sure. But I mean, it was a nice, kind of intimate concert space. And,
Yeah, we got, I think that was, of course, was the biggest one. We squeezed 110 people in.
Okay, yeah.
And some nights there would be, 30, but it
One of
didn't
your,
matter.
One of your big concerts at the Bama itself was the Joan Baez.
Oh, Joan Baez was actually the very first concert of sorts that we did.
Okay.
And Pam Pinnock was the director at the time, and she asked me to find somebody,
Yeah, like, sure,
an
let
artist.
me ask Joan.
Yeah, an artist that would be fitting for the anniversary, 70th anniversary, I think, yeah. And so we narrowed it down to, it was Joan Baez, Arlo Guthrie, I think Judy Collins, and went with Joan. She had a connection here. She was the first white artist to play a concert at to play to an integrated audience at Stillman College.
Oh, wow.
And so she wanted to come back.
That's really cool.
And she actually canceled the show before this one because she had a sore throat, and she didn't want to. She wanted her throat to be in shape for this show.
Wow.
And so I was joking about my riders when you were trying to give
Yeah.
me inferior water.
I gave you the fancy water, the Pellegrino. We're fancy here.
My section of the show is brought to you by S. Pellegrino. S. Pellegrino.
For fancy water.
Yeah, well, we
Pellegrino.
can pause for a little bit of a commercial here. And I'm just going to say our first Friday's coming up that we'll have a show and it works on paper, and it's going to be all from a variety of artists.
And this actually might not even be produced by then.
Well, this may be not on, but it will be up for the month of April. So, and I just want to say, yes, that the show is sponsored in part by a grant from the Dunder Mifflin Foundation. So we just have to have that. And also the podcast is in part scheduled by overly helpful Helene. When you need someone overly helpful, call Helene.
Helene!
So there we go. And the other thing.
Is she coming?
She'll be here.
She's overly helpful, so yes. Just when you don't need someone. You know what, and you probably have had this experience, and my husband Alan plays a lot of music, and so he said when he's about through packing up, because musical, you just need a lot of equipment, and it's kind of a lot of physical work.
You always lose something too.
Yes. So he'll say he's just about done packing everything up, and then, there's like one sheet of music left, and someone says, "Oh, can I help?"
Yeah. Well, that was a joke. One of the stagehands I worked with, he was known for this. If a couple of us were struggling with a set piece or something heavy and awkward, and we were about to lose it, our friend and brother Mike Floyd would walk over and go, "Hey fellas, is there anything I can say to help?" And we couldn't drop what we had and beat the crap out of him, so he just moseyed on down the way.
That's really funny. Well, before we end our interview, I'd like one of the things I've participated in a number of times was something that you hosted at your house. And so you had
The house concert.
the house concerts. So you want to talk a little bit about those, because those were really fun.
Yeah, we did that after I left. Actually, it was before, when it started before, with Sophia TOLH.
Yes.
She played in the Greensboro room under the banner of Acoustic Night. And after 2 times she had come through, she said, "Do you ever do a house concerts?" I said, "I've never done one." She said, "Well, would you?"
Do you have a house?
Yeah, do you have a house? And I said, "We could try it." So she was the first one. And she's probably played at our house 4 or 5 times, I guess, over the
Okay.
years. Walter Parks played. Everybody, a lot of the people that played at Acoustic Night, since they shut it down
Right.
after I left, were still coming out to play.
Yeah.
Bring Acoustic Night back.
But I've gotten the house concerts they're fun, but it doesn't seem like a lot of work, but it is.
It's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of work, no matter what.
And I don't mind to a certain point, but I have other projects going on now.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. But anyway, those were enjoyable. It's just like all the many different places you can experience music and art. And you can be creative about where it is
Sure.
and what, how
Sure.
it is. And it
Right.
doesn't always have to be in a giant flashy venue.
Right.
I mean, so, and we could do something here maybe occasionally.
Yeah.
Because now we have a little more room, although I'm not officially an event space, so I'll just, it can only be occasional, but,
Yeah.
We'll just whisper it.
well, yeah. Well, Sheryl, maybe you can call up your friend Taylor and we can schedule something small.
Sure.
I had a music story from Atlanta. I don't know
Okay.
if we have time.
Yeah, we
Sure.
have all the time, anything
Okay.
you want, yeah.
Okay. In the mid-'70s, I just started playing regularly in Atlanta at various clubs and venues as a solo artist, singer-songwriter, sensitive and all. And was building up, kind of a reputation. Fortunately, it was good.
Yeah.
and was working a lot. And there was this band in town, the Gary Bennett Band is the name of the group. And they were really good at what they did. Gary was a great singer. I used to go on a radio show in Atlanta on the community radio station and would be interviewed by this really cool guy, Aubrey. He didn't go by his last name.
Okay.
But Aubrey
Just Aubrey.
knew everybody in town, and he's a great music aficionado. And he was interviewing me one afternoon. He said, "You ever heard Gary Bennett's band?" I went, "No, I haven't." And he played something. I went, "Wow, they're good." And it had a pedal steel on it. I thought, "Hey, I love pedal steel."
Sure.
So he said, "I'm gonna give you his number, and I'll call him first, and I'll tell him you're gonna bring some of your songs over."
Okay.
Because they're songs. Anyway, so I did. I went over and met them, and I played 3 of the songs, and they wound up being in their set list for
Wow.
the whole time they were together. And they even asked me to join the band, and I did it lasted about 4 months. We played twice in 4 months.
Okay.
Because their attitude was that they had already made it, but the record company doesn't realize it.
I see. I
That
see.
they're shopping around, the usual
Okay.
BS.
Right.
So, 4 months went by, and they called me and said, "We're going to have rehearsal, come on over." I went, "Oh, all right." So, I went to rehearsal. I got there, and there were like 3 other people there. And Gary said, "Well, we were thinking, we like your songs, but not sure it's working out. So we've got Kim and Mary Ellen and some other clown to take your place."
Oh, no.
I said, "It took 3 to take my place? That's awesome." But I had never been so happy in a few months, 'cause it did not fit in. It was, if you could imagine John Denver fronting Metallica,
Okay.
that's sort of what I felt like.
Yeah.
And it was not a good mix.
No, not a good fit.
But anyway, I'll get to the interesting part. So Gary gets this manager, whose name's Arnie Nadich. He's from Montreal, and he manages still to this day, one of my favorite singer-songwriters, Jesse Winchester, who had, gone to Canada to avoid Vietnam. And I thought, wow. My first thought was, I know I'll get to meet Jesse Winchester.
Okay.
It's going to happen, even though I'm not in the band. So Arnie knows a lot of people, and he's arranging, showcases for them to play. They go out to Hollywood and play at the Troubadour and all that stuff. And they were offered with London Records, RCA, and I can't think of another, Columbia maybe. But RSO Records was the one they wanted to go with. That was kind of the boutique. Next to Asylum Records, it's probably the most desirable home for musicians.
Okay.
Because they were treated right.
Right.
And they let their artists do what they want.
Sure.
So it looked like RSO was going to be it. And, I'm excited because they're going to do 3 of my songs.
Yeah.
And if they hit big, I'll make some few dollars.
Sure.
So they come back, and nothing happens for a month or so. And then they get a call, and they said that Al Khoury, who was president of RSO, was going to pass on it.
Oh, my.
Which is an old story.
Right.
They tell you you're in, and then you're
Right.
out.
Yeah.
So the band was furious with Arnie, the manager,
Okay.
because they think he misrepresented my songs as Gary's.
Oh.
And I think the record company thought they were getting the guy that wrote all his own songs. Wouldn't matter. I mean,
Sure, you could have written more for him.
I know.
Yeah.
I should have.
Right.
He would have been better.
Yeah. It would all right.
So anyway, they parted ways, and Arnie had helped me. He introduced me to like publishers, Warner Brothers,
Okay.
and there was a couple in Nashville. And he said, you don't have to pay me. He said, I want to help you get your songs recorded.
Yeah.
And I said, thanks, Arnie. Yeah, whatever it takes. And so we were working together, and I was playing by myself again, and I had a gig up in Jasper, Georgia, which is sort of on the Appalachians
Sure.
a little bit, and I had to stay overnight. So I thought it was a long drive. It wasn't that long, but I got to spend time by myself, away from the kids. At the time, it was the kid. Or was even born. But anyway, I was playing up there over a weekend, like 3 sets, and I'd finished 2, and the phone rang it was a little cafe bar up there, and the guy said, "Hey, it's for you, it's your wife." And I said, "Hey, Gina, what's going on?" She said, "Arnie Nadich has been killed."
Oh, my.
I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, they found him murdered in his apartment."
Oh, my.
I went, "Holy crap." So I went, "Man, that's awful." So I came home the next day, and there was nothing in the newspaper about it, and there was no more television reports about it. His wife or ex-wife was a Memphis beauty. She was Miss Tennessee, And it's real funny because he's a little short guy,
Yeah.
red hair and wire glasses. They didn't go together too well, but he landed her, or she landed him, really. I don't know where I was going. Oh, yeah. She had been having an affair with the percussion player in the Gary Bennett band.
It's always the drummer.
Yeah. They have too much time on their hands. So,
Oh, God.
so immediately, that's what she said. But not to me. So immediately, everybody thinks it must have been him. And, the police interviewed him, did nothing. Interviewed the whole band, I guess. And it just sort of went by the way. And I'd been working at the Bama about 5 years, and I got a phone call from a woman in Montreal, and it was Arnie's sister.
Wow.
And she had reopened the case with the Atlanta Police Department. And she asked if I would be willing to talk to the guy. I said, yeah. I said, I'd like to know who did this.
Right. Kind of brought down your career.
Yeah, well, that too. But
Yeah.
justice,
Yeah.
justice should be served.
Right.
And I told the guy everything I knew.
Uh-huh.
And, I cryptically said, it's somebody in the band.
You thought it was. Yeah.
And I even told him the names.
Okay.
There were 2 people that I thought were capable of that.
Wow.
That was just a guess.
Just an intuition.
And just as a sidebar, the drummer's name was Michael Thievis Jr. You might not know the Thievis name. His father, Mike Thievis, was the head of the Dixie Mafia.
Oh.
And their main product was pornography.
Wow.
He owned peep shows in New Orleans and all over the Southeast.
Wow.
And he was arrested for murder and escaped. Now, this was before all of this.
Right.
Yeah, it was in the mid-'70s, I think. And he hid in Wide Open.
Yeah.
He went to his son's Little League games.
Yeah.
He drove to the store.
Right. No one even questioned it.
No. So they finally found him. And he went to prison. But, there's some sleazy kind of connections.
Sure.
For that.
So did they ever find out?
They didn't.
Oh, wow. Well, you're on a podcast. This could be our true crime angle.
It's
This
good.
would be our second true crime podcast, too.
It is.
Yes. Well, this is an unsolved cold case.
Ooh, well, maybe we have to look into it.
And I even called the detective back, and he said he went to talk to the band member that I suspected most, and he refused to talk to her because he didn't have a warrant, and he did.
Right.
You have to have a reason for a
Yeah.
warrant.
Yeah.
And there was no weapon.
Right.
They didn't
Yeah.
recover a
Yeah.
weapon or anything because he was bludgeoned.
Wow.
So there was no gun, no knife,
Oof.
baseball bat or
It's
something.
awful.
No.
Could have been drumsticks.
Could have been. Oh, another funny joke. Not a joke, this is another story that I always liked. I had a band in the late 70s, after the Bennett band. And the guitar player was Tinsley Ellis. He was
Oh,
pretty well-known
yeah.
blues guy.
Yes, it is.
And Tinsley had put in an ad in the Creative Loafing newspaper looking for people to play with, and it mentioned what he liked. So I called him, and he came over with his bass player, and we hit it off. And we played around town, kept pretty busy. He was still at Emory
Okay.
University, he hadn't graduated yet. So we played around town, and then Gina got pregnant, so I had to stop.
It takes 2.
Here comes the baby with his hand out.
I tell you, you had an opportunity to have a family band like the Osmonds.
Quit trying to make it lemonade out of lemons. No, I'm just joking. I
Yeah, I
love my
know,
kids
of
to
course.
death. And we played some together.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were playing one night at the Great Southeast Music Hall, and it was a battle of the bands or something. And our drummer, he was a great guy, but he would lose the beat sometimes and not know where he was.
That is not a good minute
Not
drummer.
good. No.
'Cause that is mostly their job.
It is. Exactly. So we were playing. I don't know the song. Doesn't matter. But it had a stop, and then a silent count. And Tinsley came over to me and he said, "I bet you he doesn't make it." Guess what? He didn't make it. And after it was over, Tinsley was talking to me. He said, "You know, Steve thinks Time is a magazine." I think you're right, Tinsley. Oh, anyway, but that was my one funny story.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
I
and
enjoyed it.
So many great stories. Well, you know what time it is, Cheryl.
It's time to watch our shows.
Time to watch our shows.